Good evening, everybody. We are back to Late Night on Campus. We are live. It's Friday, July 28th, 2017. Joe, July is just about come and gone. It seems like just yesterday it was Memorial Day, then it was July 4th. I was down at the shore. It's almost been a month since then, but we're back another Friday. Joe Duffy, my Friday coach. Joe, offshoreinsiders.com. How you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, Jeff. As always, I'm a little excited. This time next week, there will be one football game under our belt, American football, that is.
That's a good point, Joe. We have the Hall of Fame game coming up, which, look, I'm not a big preseason bettor. I know some people are. I think you are, if I'm correct. You do a little preseason stuff. So, yeah, we'll have some football finally to watch. I don't watch CFL. So, again, it'll be nice to see some American football, some teams we know about. And we'll obviously get into that. Obviously, we are sponsored by the great folks at betonline.ag. Head on over to BetOnline if you're in the market for a new book. It's imperative that when you go into college football, when you go into the NFL, when you go into basketball coming up in a couple months, you have multiple books. Just one book is not going to be good enough. You need to have multiple options, multiple angles. Half points mean a lot in this business. Some book might have 7, the other book might have 6.5. You got to make sure you have the best best option as far as books are concerned. Good payout options, great bonuses, casinos, poker, all sorts of fun stuff. So head on over to BetOnline, one of the best books in the business. And you know what? They get the lines out the earliest. So It's obviously something that you want to keep abreast of. Welcome to everyone out there listening. As always, we do appreciate it. Friday is always a fun little night to kind of relax and kind of look forward to the weekend. Joe Duffy, how has everything been for you? How's the last week been for you?
It's been solid. Like I said, I'm not going to lie to you. Can't claim this is my best year ever in Major League Baseball. Been doing this a long time, but I am really excited about preseason football. And as you said, I'm one of those people who believes you can definitely find an edge in preseason. And even if people don't want to buy my picks, they should visit offshoreinsiders.com and get my preseason primer, where we'll do news and notes that people can use in their own handicapping.
Great idea. And Joe, quickly, how many years have you been in this business, Joe?
Since 1988 full-time, but I worked for Dial Sports in college. So that's 29 years full-time, but altogether about 30.
I'll put this into perspective, and Joe knows this. Joe's been in the business longer than I've been alive, which I don't want to admit to him just because I don't want to make him feel old, but there's nothing you should want more than his preseason primer. I mean, he's been in the business a long time. He's got a wealth of knowledge that even I don't have. I astute myself as a very encyclopedic, but even I don't have some of the knowledge you have. So I urge you, head on over to Offshore Insiders, get a look at what is going on with Joe Duffy. Joe, I did want to ask you, I know you're someone that knows about Billy Walters. You've known about Billy Walters for a long time. To me, other than probably my father, he's a hero to me. I think what he's done in this business is something that I don't think anyone will be able to do if it's all obviously truthful. And again, look, he's worth, a lot of money, multi-millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Is this a case of greed, or is this just a case of the government had a hard on, gave him 5 years? But we could agree, Joe, that if someone said to you right now, hey, listen, you got to go to jail for 4 years. We're not going to put you in some high-level prison. It's going to be some summer camp. You get $7.5 million a year, which that's what he's going to get after the fine. You would do that, wouldn't you?
I think so. Look, Billy Walters, a couple things. You talked about looking up to him, whatever. He's been a big influence on me, and I think even both directly and indirectly he's benefited me. Of course, he was among the first to really use computers to his advantage.
Right.
And I think that was a big reason why, right about the time you were born, Computer Sports World started selling some software, which I fell in love with, and I'm more of a technical guy than a computer guy. As far as that's concerned, look, insider trading, I know people like to get into the debate about white-collar crimes, blue-collar crimes. If that's the worst thing someone's ever done, I'll be honest with you. There's a guy in my neighborhood I know went to the sin bin for 2 years for insider trading, and he just recently got out. I passed him the other day. He was walking his kids. Insider trading's, look, I'm not saying it's justified, but I don't feel less safe the fact that I know that I have a guy living in my neighborhood who was convicted of trading. But
look, it's similar to what we do here. I mean, it's similar to you being a bookmaker. I don't think they're hardened criminals. I don't think they're menace to society. Again, I mean, I think you made an example of Billy Walters. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, he'll be out in 4 years. He'll get to keep most of his money and then some. He's made a ton of money doing all this, but it is what it is. He's a guy that, Joe, doesn't go away till October. I said earlier, I was back before he goes to prison. So I don't think it's much of a big deal. Welcome into everyone. Matt, Kyle, David, Armin, Ace Farmer. Ace Farmer's talking about the Astros. Yes, we'll get into that. Mark Thompson, Ryan, Marco, Jesse, Steven, Guan, everyone out there. Welcome in. Hey, listen, like the show if you're out there. We would appreciate it. I want everyone in here to like it. We have 2 dislikes, which fuck you. You're a hater. Don't dislike my show. It's not nice. Or show yourself. Okay, Kyle. Kyle Hamburg's in here. Kyle, I was wondering where you were. I hadn't seen you in a while. Billy Walters moved lines on his own. Yes, he did. And he would always do that. He would move a line and get the line he wanted, and then he'd hit the other side.
Yeah, he was known for his line manipulation, and that's a big difference there. A lot of people were like, can you get Billy Walters plays? And I would explain to them that Billy Walters wasn't so much, and people say that my South Jersey accent that I don't always pronounce the L, but I know his name is Billy Walters.
Billy Waters.
By the way, yeah, Billy Waters. So if anyone puts any hateful comments about me not being able to say his name, you can't take, the Philly burbs out of the boy. But anyway, as far as Billy Walters was known really for his line manipulation, not so much his ability to handicap. Now, of course, there's a little bit of both being involved, but he could manipulate. I would never claim to manipulate the lines the way he can. I will claim with a straight face that I've got software, that I know how to use computer software as well as he does. But as far as manipulating the lines, I'm not going to claim I can do that.
Yeah, I don't think many of us can. Joe, let me ask you quickly. Seth, or I'm sorry, not Seth, Chris, you've actually made a comment that you think Billy Walters is a criminal. I could have sworn I saw that on Twitter. You think that insider trading is, something that you think someone should go to jail for. I don't understand your thinking pattern there. I mean, you can't say it doesn't happen all the time. It's like gambling. I mean, everybody does it. You think he's the only one that's ever did insider trading, and he's just got caught, unfortunately. But it's like all of us. I mean, if the feds came to us and said, "Hey, are you paying money on all your gambling winnings?" I don't think anyone would say, "Hey, yeah, I think I paid every cent." Actually, I'd like to get your opinion on that, Chris. You think Billy Walters is a criminal, if I'm correct? Go ahead.
He is right. I mean, look, insider trading does give you an unfair advantage, and I can see how. But what I said is I would not feel unsafe if somebody who the only bad thing he's done in his life was insider trading. Right. I wouldn't feel less safe living next door to him.
Sure, agree. Let's get into baseball. And again, I mean, feel free, guys, on the chat to talk about whatever. We'll definitely bring those comments up. We will talk, Joe, a little bit about your football stuff coming up, which I think we're all excited for. Baseball, though, a couple games have went final, Joe. Phillies with a nice night tonight. They get the job done 10-3, and I think a lot of people thought that pitching change would affect them. But, this was really just a case of, the Atlanta Braves leaving a lot of people on base. And look, I mean, Teheran wasn't good tonight. Not good on the road. But it's hard to cap a game when Jeremy Hellickson goes out 5 minutes beforehand. Braves shot up to a 145 favorite. Nice win for the Phillies. They're playing well right now.
Yeah, and actually, Tehran has actually been worse at home than he has on the road, but he did struggle on the road. As far as that's concerned, to be honest with you, I believe when a team gets a short-term wake-up, especially when we're talking about baseball, especially when we're talking about a non-contender in the middle of July, I think that can wake you. It's not going to shake you up if a guy's pulled and you think he may have been traded. It's sort of, a little something to rally around. So to be honest with you, if I knew that and I were going to bet it solely on that information, I would bet on the team that made the trade, because I think it's just going to be a little bit of wake-up call, especially in the heat of summer. But yeah, Tehran, he's a guy who's got some potential. He is struggling at home, and now, of course, he falls flat on the road.
Right. Yeah, no, and he's a guy that seems like when you start to look like you want to back him, he throws in one of these. If you don't punish insider trading, every Wall Street scumbag would take our money. I know this thing we do. I hear you. All I'm saying is I think Billy Walters should have the ability, if you do get caught for insider trading, you shouldn't just throw him in jail. I mean, what does that really solve? Why not fine them? I mean, he makes $43 million off these trades and only has to pay $10 million of it. He still came off of $33 million. I mean, fine them. I mean, make them build stuff, you know, make the infrastructure around the community better. Don't throw them in jail. What does that do? It means we as taxpayers have to pay for it. I don't understand.
But I agree with you. But what people were going to say is it's going to mean that wealthy people can buy their way out of jail, and they're going to say it discriminates against the poor. Yeah.
But that's how it always is. I mean, how is that any different from normal? I mean, the rich can do things that poor people can. But I agree. I hear you. Those are the rules. All I'm saying is I feel like you would think, Joe, in this case, Billy Walters may avoid jail time by paying a big fine. You would think, no?
I would have zero problems with that. Look, I'm all for people, if they have made white-collar crimes that involve finances, they haven't committed a violent crime, I am all for them literally paying their debt to society.
I would do 5 years standing on my head if I get paid even $1 million a year. I would do it for $250,000 a year, honestly. But I'm maybe a little different than some of us.
We'll start a GoFundMe account. We'll see. Maybe we can get that done. Maybe we can see you stand on your head for 5 years.
You know what I mean, Joe? Angels get the job done. I was on the Angels tonight. I mentioned, but Donnie Rightside and I both mentioned that we thought the Angels were a good play tonight. Bridwell has been very good. Didn't really understand laying 155 with J Happ. Didn't really see that. This Toronto team, look, they're an inconsistent offensive team. They have a lot of old players. And look, I mean, the Angels scored 7 runs, Joe, and they were 4 for 14 runners in scoring position. They had plenty of opportunities there tonight. Bridwell with another very good outing here.
Yeah, and Bridwell has been tremendous, in fact, this year. What his ERA is now 2.68. It was, at least when I checked it, in about the 6th or 7th inning, 1.17 whip. So he's a guy, I think he's got, 4, maybe 5 starts under his belt. So be a little careful continually betting on him, because the old adage about once the league sees him, they'll start to catch up to him. But he's been tremendous now, and I would say you do ride him while he's hot. That doesn't necessarily mean that you plan on riding him, you know, for the next 4 or 5 games, but ride the hot hand before the league does catch up to him.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at some of these guys, they've caught up to some, and some have kind of eluded. I mean, and we'll get into one of those here in a little bit. But another interesting game tonight. I should have bet it, you know, kind of more. I mentioned another one I mentioned on the show. I liked Reds Marlins over 7-4 last night, Joe. A lot of public was on the over, easy under. Looks like tonight it kind of happened like we thought it would. Salvatore Romano wasn't bad. I mean, he only went 3 2/3, but didn't give up a run. Did have 6 walks though. That was a concern. But you know, the bullpen was the main culprit here as far as giving runs up for the Reds. Miami, they didn't do too good either. A lot of unearned runs in this game. There was an error by Cincinnati. 7-4, Joe. Do you have anything in this game?
I did not, but you were mentioning about public money, and as we talked about that before, contrarian. I don't use it too much in baseball, but I'll be using it, in fact, in preseason football and regular season football as well. But I'm a big believer in the sharp versus square money, and when the public money is usually on one side or one total, that's definitely a check mark in the column or the total opposite of the way the public's going.
Nonviolent crime shouldn't be thrown in the slammer. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, there are nonviolent crimes that are a little bit more. I think anything white collar, I don't know if they should be in prison. But again, white collar could be a Ponzi scheme also. So again, so you don't think Bernie Madoff should be in prison? And that's a little someone like that. I think if it's over a certain dollar value, they should be in prison. Joe, you would agree Bernie Madoff should rot in jail for the rest of his life?
Yeah, that was pure. Yeah, that was pure scum. You know, I also believe, of course, that obviously they should try to recover the money and give it back to the victims. I don't know if you have to do that civilly or legally, but for the most part, yeah, the white collar criminals, I'm all for them not going in the jail. Look, we got too many we got a lot of violent criminals. We need to save the spaces for them. Protect me from the violent criminals. Look, I can protect myself from a scammer, But as far as somebody, breaks into my house with a gun and, comes after my family, I may not be as easily able to protect them. But that's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, so Ace Farmer, you don't think that people that commit espionage should be in prison? I mean, that's nonviolent, isn't it? I mean, you should be able to spy and get away with it. I mean, I don't know about that. I think people like that should be in prison. But again, you never know with things. Who knows where it'll go? Hey, Cynthia, how you doing tonight? The feds are watching this. Careful, everyone, on what you say. Yeah, I'm sure they're so concerned with what we're doing tonight.
Yeah, I'm not betting with any bookmakers or anything like that. This is just, for amusement only if it's the IRS who's watching.
Right.
Unless I go to Vegas, of course. But
sure. Ace Farmer, what are you guys looking at on the card tomorrow? We'll get to that. We'll get to a couple quickly at the end. No problem. Baez with a solo shot. Big deal. They're still down 2-1. And getting runs from this team tonight is like pulling teeth. The Cubs have been back. They're back to their T-ball hitting ways, Joe. You look at tonight, a couple double plays and opportune times. Runner gets on, immediate double play. Irritating team the Cubs are. I mean, you seem to want to back them in spots. I have them tonight. I'll admit. Irritating they are, aren't they?
They definitely are. And, I'll admit I do have them on the run line, and they need to explode pretty quickly for that to come through. But the Cubs have been the enigma, and it is a battle of a team that, just keeps on going on Milwaukee against the Cubs team that we're all waiting to explode, and they just don't seem to do that. Still, at the end of the day, in August, well, we're almost in August, but yeah, in August and September, I think they'll do enough just to come over the finish line ahead.
Yeah, this is a big series for the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, they've really tailed off. They've lost 9 of 11. They need a good showing here tonight and in this weekend. Boston loses to Kansas City. Rick Porcello wasn't terrible, but the Boston offense, Joe, continues to have problems. This team is pretty irritating. Mookie Betts has not played like he had last year. They added Eduardo Nunez, which is a nice pickup, but he did everything he could tonight. Went 2 for 3. But you look at this lineup. I mean, when you have the likes of Chris Young regularly in your lineup, Hanley Ramirez is only hitting 253. Your only real run threat right now is Dustin Pedroia as far as driving runs in. Bogarts hasn't had a great year like he did. Red Sox are struggling. They seem to have looked up, but the Royals are playing really well right now. This team is for real, and wild card wise, we better look out.
Yeah, the Royals have now won 8 straight, and actually teams on very long winning streaks when they're road underdogs, but they're not huge road underdogs are good play. It wasn't enough for me to go. I didn't go with Kansas City tonight, but red hot teams on the road as small underdogs are good plays, and I think we talked about it when I was on with you and Donnie Rightside a couple weeks ago, or maybe even very early in the season, actually, where Boston on paper probably is the best team in Major League Baseball, certainly one of the best teams in Major League Baseball, but the games aren't played on paper, and the Red Sox are certainly emblematic of that.
I mean, I think one thing we have to point out, and I'll continue to discuss this, is they have no power threats on this team. You lose Travis Shaw, who, by the way, has 24 home runs. You lose David Ortiz, who's one of the better power hitters of the last 15 years. I mean, you had to think there was going to be a drop-off with this team, and right now there's really not a lot of power here, and that's something they're going to have to fix. But, again, they have some pitching. They'll be there towards the end. Joe, the Tigers figure out another way to lose the game tonight in their bullpen, and you got to give Jordan Zimmerman a little respect here. He wasn't bad in this game. He, for the most part, gave up a couple home runs, but overall he was fine. He gave up 3 runs over 7 innings. Keuchel had a lot of pitches early, only went 3 innings, labored a little bit. But Peacock, Davinsky, and Giles were very good out of the bullpen. And, Joe, you had to figure when Bruce Rondon came into the game, a 10.5 ERA, a whip of 2 out of the bullpen, you have the top of the lineup coming up for the Astros. What on earth was Brad Ausmus thinking bringing him into the game?
Yeah, but, and it obviously hurt. Jordan Zimmerman, we talked about him. He was a guy who you thought, maybe he'd be a little undervalued. He's obviously struggled the past couple years, but seems to have a lot better stuff than his recent record has shown. So, good to see him having a good outing. I know you said Keuchel did struggle tonight, but he's been tremendous this year. Detroit almost pulling it out, a little bit of a pitching disadvantage. But when you don't have a deep bullpen, sometimes that's what you got to do, is bring in a guy in a situation that's going to be easy to second guess.
But again, I'm not sure if Brad Ausmus knows this, but you have a guy named Justin Wilson. You could bring him in the 8th inning. I know he's your closer, but I mean, there's got to be someone better than Bruce Rondon. John Troy. Jeff said Atlanta tonight. Shaking my damn head. Hey, idiot. What about all the other games that I gave out that won? John, look, misery's optional, man. I mean, you want to come in here with a new name. We all know you're some kind of troll. Why don't you talk about the games like everyone else and have some fun tonight? You're the guy at 10:21 in Eastern that's coming on a Friday night to troll people in a chat. Just remember that. They should throw him in jail, Joe, not Billy Walters. Get him out of our face.
You got to get that thicker skin. I know how it is. You could have 40 straight winning days. I'm not saying that I've had 40 straight winning days. I'm using some hyperbole. You could have 40 straight winning days. On that 41st day, you go 2-5. Someone's going to complain. That's just the way it is.
I've never seen John on here, so I have a feeling John has some ulterior motives. Did anyone see Ray's injury? Yeah, of course. I think everyone did. It was ugly, and I hope Robbie Ray comes back healthy, because he's a great pitcher, and that was pretty ugly to see, Joe. It hurt even looking at that.
Yeah, I didn't actually see it, but yeah, there have been some ugly injuries over the years, and certainly with pitchers.
Yeah, and the line drives off the face are always tough to watch. Trading JD Martinez at this stage of the season screams we're giving up. Yeah, I hear you on that. Seth Hagen, Detroit has made some questionable decisions in their front office as far as, the Jordan Zimmerman was one of the worst. I mean, giving him $100 million plus was unbelievable. But, yes, throwing in the white towel is definitely the prerogative there. Washington and Colorado are raining heavily on the East Coast, especially in Washington. Texas is up 8-1. Joe, Andrew Kashner, this is something I wanted to ask you about. This is a guy that I figured at some point would regress, but he's, other than Darvish, has been their best pitcher. How about him?
Yeah, that's for sure. Another good outing tonight. His ERA is 3.50. That's one of the reasons why I've always said that if anything, I like to handicap offense a little bit more than pitching, because pitching, I think, can be more of a crapshoot, and I do think offense can be a little bit more of a certainty. Not to say that it is a certainty, but I always say that if at the end of the year you took a blue ribbon panel and you listed the most surprising and disappointing players, a disproportionate number of those would be pitchers, and Kashner certainly fits into that category.
Yeah, no, he's pitched well this year, though. Got to give him some respect there. Cleveland is killing the White Sox. Joe, the White Sox may not win a game this year for the rest of the year. They are awful. And, Dave, I don't know if you've seen that bullpen, but it's pretty amazing. The White Sox are getting absolutely branded by the Cleveland Indians tonight. I am on Cleveland. What's up with the White Sox, Joe? This team is – do they even have a bullpen? I think they're bringing people off the street.
No, they're 1-11. Their last 12 at home. So if you're not going to win at home, it's going to be tougher to win on the road. But again, as I always like to caution, so many of my angles and systems say that when teams are playing poorly, which means, of course, the public's going to hate them, that's usually when they do become good value. But from a non-gambling standpoint, they are, as a term that you like to use, they're certainly a dumpster fire. Can't even win at home.
Yeah, and again, the lineup sucks. Your ace is, I guess, Derek Holland or James Shields. Amazing. Joe, we have a request here. Do you know where Lake Lanier is? Do you know where that is?
Yes, I do know where Lake Lanier is. In fact, we talk, every now and then we talk about Megan. That's where she's from.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Actually, Kyle's asking Joe if you would like to meet him to search for Julio Jones' earring in the bottom of the ocean or the lake there.
That was quite the diva thing. 100,000. Jeff, I got to be honest with you. If I had Billy Waters money, if I had Jeff Bezos money, or however he pronounced his last name, sure. I don't think I could spend $100,000 on a piece of jewelry ever.
Yeah, look, I'm pretty opulent with certain things. Like I have $500 sneakers, I'll admit, but again, I don't know that I ever understand the jewelry thing. I don't, you lose value when you wear it. It's like a boat. I mean, there's really no resale value to it. Yeah, I agree. And I especially wouldn't wear it on a jet ski. Joe, I have actually a funny story about a jet ski. Very similar story to this story. I have a good friend of mine who he's from South Philly. He's a very opulent guy. This is a guy that he wears constant gold watches and Rolexes. So he comes to my shore house last year, and I tell him, he asked me if we want to go jet skiing. I said, yeah, that's fine. I said, but I'm telling you, Bill, I said, leave the Rolex at home. Don't wear it out in the jet ski. Don't do it. He brings his phone, the jet, the watch, everything. We're putzing around. He'd never ridden a jet ski before. He says, I'll be good. I'm not going to fall off. What do you think happens?
I think he fell off.
Falls off, loses his phone, watch gets all wet. It's just, you can't wear, when you go out on a boat, you go out on a jet ski, you think, what's the worst that can happen here? And you prepare for it. You never know. Weather could hit. You could have a thunderstorm. You have to be smart when you're doing that. And he has no one to blame but himself for that. Who thought the Phillies would score 10 today? I didn't. Definitely not me. Couple more here, Joe. St. Louis is up 1-0. I am sitting on the Cardinals tonight. I have them here. That line, Joe, screamed St. Louis, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't actually touch that game, but Cardinals are a heck of a team, but it is a game that I stood away from. But hey, congratulations. Well, it's still got some time left, but they are up 1-0 in the 7th.
Got to let us know the sneaks you have that were $500. The Concords I have were $479. The Jordan 11 Concords. I have what else do I have? I mean, most of the sneakers I buy are like $200 or $300, but the Concords were expensive. Those were the Bred 11s I have were fairly expensive. But hey, they're my favorite. So,
well, Jeff, you know about me, I probably spend more money on lunch than 95% of people out there. So we all do have our weaknesses, but
yes.
Like I said, still, if I was one of the wealthiest men in the world, I don't think I'd be spending Julio Jones type money. I wouldn't be spending $150 on lunch every single day. I can tell you that much.
I agree. By the way, the Phillies have traded Howie Kendrick to the Nationals for a minor leaguer. You get a top 20 prospect back, from what I understand, for Howie Kendrick. So not bad. Howie Kendrick, I think it was evident wouldn't be here for a long period of time. He goes to play second base and adds a little depth to that lineup. Someone's asking me about the poll and who ended up winning the poll for Joe. This will be a question I ask you. I'll get your vote here. I asked on Twitter, you could pick one of these 4 players.
Oh, yes, I saw that. Yeah.
And they're added to your organization tomorrow. Who are you taking? Yeah, Mike Trout, Altuve, Bryce Harper, or Clayton Kershaw. Who would you take out of that?
Yeah, it's pretty tough. I'm sure a lot of people are going to go with Kershaw because they love pitching, but Trout, I think, is probably the best player in baseball. But you can't go wrong with any of those 4. But I would have to go with Trout.
I'm actually blown away that Altuve got the least amount of votes. I would pick Altuve personally, but all these choices are evident. Mike Trout did win with 40% of the vote, 65 voters. So definitely a nice group there. But always good to think about. Listen, Joe, this Altuve can get a hit every time he's up. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I think if my son were voting, I should have had him. Well, he's actually away at acting camp. I'm pretty sure he would have voted for Altuve.
Yeah, I love the kid. I mean, he's really fantastic. Big Man has 3 pair of Big Baller brand. I don't have any Big Baller sneakers, but I did order a couple pieces of a couple shirts, actually, which I'll be wearing. And they're just because they could be funny to wear. But yes, Big Baller, I did buy some of that stuff, I will say. I've actually come around a little bit on Lonzo Ball. I do like the hustle, I'll say that. But I am sick of his father, to be honest.
He's going to make the $30 billion. You gotta buy his stuff. The man's got to eat.
Exactly. Corey Seager with a first inning home run It's 1-1 though in Dodgerland. Alex Wood, Joe, not a good performance his last outing. Gives up a first or a second inning home run here to Brandon Crawford. A lot of people are on the Dodgers tonight. You on anything in this game?
Yeah, I have the game 1-1 though. Did you say 1-0?
Yeah, I got 1-1.
Okay, I thought you said 1-0. I actually do have the Giants. A lot of my regression to the mean angles go with San Francisco, and it's one of those where, of course, if you lose, you look like a complete idiot. But my regression to the mean angles have been very kind to me, and it's one of those that, not just I have similar analogous ones in every single sport. So regression to the mean has worked for me in every single sport. So I got to stick by them, even though the Dodgers, frankly, have been the team that's been killing me with the regression to the mean lately. Still do have San Francisco tonight in that one.
They are a team that scores a lot of runs. They are never out of a game. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? St. Louis up 1-0. Like I said, Robbie Ray knocked that early. Honorable job by the Diamondbacks bullpen to really kind of keep them in this game, and they are threatening. The Cardinal bullpen never makes it easy, so we'll see what happens in this one. Mets up 2-0 early on Ariel Miranda and the Mariners. Minnesota and Oakland scoreless, and Pittsburgh and San Diego also scoreless. Let's go to the chat box here, and then we'll get into some other things, and then we'll wrap it up. I'm trying to get some of the Klay Thompson sneakers. I haven't seen them yet, actually. I honestly want a big baller hoodie. Yes. I mean, it's not horrible stuff, and it is kind of the shirts are decent. They're not bad. I bet the under in the Giants game. Good luck, my friend. I don't really ever trust Matt Moore, Joe, but hey, good luck. Joe, before we go to a little football, let's take a look at some of the games tomorrow. Obviously, a big card coming up here. We'll just pick out one or two of these and just chat about it. Zach Greinke on the hill at St. Louis. Greinke laying around 135. Mike Leake on the hill for the Cardinals. And, Joe, Michael Leake has really been very good all year. Both these pitchers have been very good all year. But it's hard to step in front of the Arizona Diamondbacks. I know right now, tonight, they're not really hitting. But this is a team that I will say I'm not as in love with on the road as opposed to at home. And I think the public's kind of fallen in love with them a little bit, not only at home, but on the road too. And we have to understand they're a little bit of a different team on the road. This looks like a decent underplay for me here in this one. Any thoughts early on?
Certainly the early numbers would indicate that, but I always like to look at WHIP in addition to ERA, and the WHIP seems to indicate that Leake's ERA numbers might be a little deceiving. His WHIP over his last 5 games is 1.79, which isn't all that good, as opposed to 0.94 for Greinke, who is definitely a stud. I mean, all his advanced numbers are pretty good. So if anything, the pitching matchup suggests that maybe Greinke has a little bit bigger edge than the mere ERA would suggest. But, the under might be a half-decent play, especially from the standpoint of Arizona's pitcher.
Yeah, that'll definitely be one that we will talk about tomorrow for sure. One or two other ones here. Kyle Hendricks back. A second start here against the Brewers. I'll be interested to see how this game finishes out tonight. Ivan Nova, Joe, a guy that I've really liked this year, taking up and eating up a lot of innings. He's headed on the road to face the Padres, and he got an interesting game down in Houston or down in Detroit. Matthew Boyd against Houston, which could be trouble for the Tigers yet again. Kevin Gausman, Bibbins, Dirks, that should be a high-scoring matchup. So there's plenty to do tomorrow. We'll be live at 12:30 breaking down every game. Big man, I'm ready to see this Broner-Garcia fight. I'm really interested in your take on that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, Kyle. It is a bettable fight. And, if you read everything out of Broner's camp, I've listened to 2 or 3 interviews from Broner. And, again, I don't know if they're him being sincere and he's actually given up on the streets and the life that he lived. But he does seem sincere in kind of his dedication to fighting again. It'll be an interesting fight for sure. I'm in the process possibly of getting Andreas Hale on the show tomorrow to talk about that fight. We'll have to see if we can make it work. But, yeah, I'm definitely interested in that fight myself. We'll be talking about that tomorrow as well. Big man, how many are you trying to get in your fantasy league? Probably 12 people or so. And we'll, kind of iron out those details over the weekend here. Joe, I did want to ask you a couple questions about the NFL, questions that I've asked Donnie Rightside, and kind of some fringe props and things like that that I'd just like to hear your opinion on. I'm in the group I'm thinking, and I'm sure it's not a big group, but I'm in the way of thinking that I think the Jets have the ability to not win a game this year. I think they're that bad, and I think their schedule really only has one winnable game on it. Now, again, I know how the NFL works. It's pretty difficult, but at 15-1, Joe, I don't think that's a terrible bet, honestly.
Yeah, and you're talking about 15-1 is any team going winless this year. So,
by the way, Joe,
yep.
Really want to point this out. These look like they were just added, which it's very possible. Actually, the Jets to go 0-16 is 30-1. I'm sorry. So what are your thoughts on the Jets, Joe?
Yeah, the Jets are awful. The Browns are awful. The 49ers are awful. I think the 49ers are a team that they'll probably be competitive in some games this year because of defense.
I think they're better than people think. I think they're a 4 or 5-win team, maybe.
But yeah, there's only been 2, 3 teams in the history of the NFL to ever go winless. One way or another, without having the Jets schedule in front of me, look, a team is always going to steal a game that they're not supposed to. 30-1, I don't know. I probably want odds a little bit better than that, but as we said before, look, you bet $50 on it, you have something to root for, maybe all year, and there's a little bit of fun to it. But as I said, there are going to be times this year where I like to go with underdogs, so it would be tough for me to make a bet like that because it would bias me. Then I'd be like, I don't even want to bet the Jets +7 or plus 6.5.
So you would be looking more or less for better odds there, is what you're saying?
I think I'd be looking for better odds. It's very, very rare that it happens.
Is Kohler pitching tomorrow? No, Kohler's in AAA. Kohler got sent down. Adam Conley for the Mets tomorrow, or for the Marlins tomorrow. You won't see Kohler for a while. Him or Jeff Locke, which is sucks because I like betting against both of them. My biggest bet of the year is on Jets under 4.5. Yeah, I don't get that number at all, but I guess we'll see. But I think, again, I really believe they can not win a game. But, again, it's a long shot. Joe, will we have many believe that the Patriots, everyone always thinks every year that they're going to go undefeated or go 19-0. To go 16-0, 11.5-1. Would you make that bet?
No, I don't think so. And I believe, I made my bold prediction, not one that I think there are any props on this, and you can't really make a prop on it because it's not totally subjective. But I think that, my surprising prediction for the year is that the Patriots, Bill Belichick, is going to occasionally rest healthy stars. I think last year where Brady with the suspension, he had the phenomenal year. And look, he's got enough Super Bowl rings. He's the one guy that can get away with it. Think about it. It's also one way to really take another swipe at Goodell. That Goodell doesn't want them to rest their stars. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden it looks like Greg Popovich is coaching the New England Patriots this year, and I think we will see some guys rested. I'm not claiming I've got any specific inside information on that, but kind of like the 0-16. It's very rare when a team is going 16-0, and of course, when the Patriots went 16-0, they wound up losing the final game. So no, but look, if anybody can do it, they can certainly do it. They are the best team in the NFL. So.
Right. No, I hear on that. And adding Brandon Cooks, and they've if you can believe it, I think they've gotten better offensively, which will be interesting to watch all year. Someone talked about the Madden curse for Tom Brady. Tom Brady doesn't have curses, it seems like. He can kind of do whatever he wants, and there's nothing to worry about. George Hatzadakis, do you guys know anywhere in Vegas or online I can parlay division futures? Yes, 5 times you can do that. So I would, George, take a look on that book. I believe you can parlay anything on that website. You could parlay if Michael Phelps would beat a shark and if Vladimir Putin would win the Russian election. So I wouldn't think you couldn't parlay those as well. Teddy made a great point about Patriots' record after winning the Super Bowl. They only won 12 games once the next season. Well, that might be right, and that might be his opinion, but I'm in the belief that they're going to win 13 or 14 games. At 12.5, I still think that's worth the bet. But I do understand, I think it's at 13. Value might be gone at that point. Joe, a couple others here. Look at some MVP props. Tom Brady, the favorite at 5-1. Rodgers, 7.5-1. Roethlisberger at 14-1. Is there some value late in a Derek Carr at 16-1 of maybe a Le'Veon Bell at 30-1? It's hard to pick him just because of his suspension problems and off the field issues. For me, I feel like Ezekiel Elliott at 20-1, maybe one of those redemption stories proving everyone that his off the field problems were just off the field problems and that he's truly a great running back. I think at 20-1, he's not bad.
Yeah, well, the Dallas Cowboys, they've got that ability to put off the field stuff behind him. I think Ben Roethlisberger, and in part because of Le'Veon Bell, look, he's got so many weapons. Of course, if they're able to stay healthy, stay out of jail, not get suspensions for pot. But look, with Brown and Bryant, you're not going to get a better 1-2 punch than that. He'll be handing off the ball to Le'Veon Bell, so he's going to have plenty of balance. He's going to be able to throw swing passes. Look, with James Conner as a weapon, look, we're obviously all rooting for him. A great story there, but he's a player. I mean, he's a player. And because I do think that the Steelers, a mild surprise, I do think they will probably win the Super Bowl. I'm going to probably go with Roethlisberger. I guess I'll go all in on Pittsburgh. But with those weapons and with a heck of a quarterback and a guy that finds a way to win, he would probably be my relative long shot. And we don't, look, Derek Carr, he was obviously splendid last year, but he is coming off of an injury, but you can't argue with that selection either.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are definitely off the, obviously if you want to bet against the Patriots, I think the Steelers are a real good bet to win the Super Bowl. I mean, you have obviously the best receiver in football. You have guys like Martavius Bryant and Sammy Coates. I love the addition of Juju Smith-Schuster, a guy you could put in the slot. He burns people. James Conner, I think, will take a little bit off of Le'Veon Bell. I like their offense. I think offensively they're right up there with anyone. I think that's a great pick by you, Joe.
And how about Jameis Winston? We talked about that. He is certainly built to succeed this year with Evans and Jackson. You gotta love O.J. Howard. The guy's a beast. Chris Goodwin. Look, Jameis Winston, this could be his breakout year. The most overused term in sports is, this is a make or break year for him. But look, it's all the table set as far as I'm concerned. And I do think it will be Winston will really explode this year.
Interesting bet here, Joe. Any game ends in a tie, minus 340. It wouldn't surprise me if there was no tie.
It only. I could look that up pretty easily, but they only happen once every couple of years. So
I think there were 2 last year, weren't they?
There may have been 2 last year, and then I remember. I think that broke a streak of like a couple of years.
I think that's a bet you have to make automatically. It's hard to think that. Again, if there's a tie, you whip that one up and say, well, there was a tie. It is what it is. But it's hard to imagine. There's a tie. At plus 280, you're getting almost 3-1 on your money. I think that's worth a bet for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, you are. I'm actually looking it up. Yeah, there were 2. Whoops. Let me do that because it lists home and away. Let me just do one other thing pretty quickly. I can tell you how many ties. Now, there was one last year, the Cardinals and the Seahawks.
I think there's been a tie the last couple of years.
And then, according to my database, the previous one was 2014, the Bengals and the Panthers.
Wow.
In 2013, the Packers and the Vikings. 2000. So I have 2, 4, 6. Yeah, it's very rare. That's if you're going to lay 340 on everything. According to my database, the only one I have is the Cardinals and the Seahawks last year.
Joe Madden continues to defy logic. You bring Kyle Schwarber up with the game on the line, a 191 hitter. This guy just continues to overmanage. Amazing. I know he's hit well lately, but bad decision.
Yeah. Kyle Schwarber's he's a better hitter. He is a better hitter than that. And I think maybe he's looking at the big picture. He says, look, if we want to win the World Series again, we got to I got to show confidence in Kyle Schwarber. So, there might be kind of a big picture type thing there. But
Schwarber strikes out to end the game. Great at bat there, Kyle. Another brutal at bat from Kyle Schwarber. He's one of the more overrated players over the last year I've ever seen. And he's not very good, to be honest. So yeah, I think at 3-1, I mean, I think it's worth a bet on no game ends in a tie. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think I have 10 ties since 1989. So that would be one. Well, I guess it is about one every 4 years. So maybe the odds are set about right, but it still looks like no tie is pretty good value.
One other one, Joe, I'm also looking at, just wanted to get your quick opinion on. I'm bullish on the Vikings. I think they're a team that I really like, and at almost 4-1, a lot of people are in love with the Packers, and I hear you. Again, though, I don't know if they got that much better defensively. Are they improved on the offensive line? I'm not in love with their skill position. I mean, they're good, but I'm not in love with them there. I like what this Minnesota Vikings team did. You brought in 2 running backs that really could take a little pressure off Sam Bradford. You got a pretty good offensive line. Stephon Diggs really kind of came into his own last year. You forget Laquan Treadwell they got. Adam Thielen was a good kind of third guy there. I'm kind of bullish on them, and defensively, they're really good defensively. Really good team. What are your thoughts on the Vikings?
I'm not a Bradford guy. That's a problem. I know he got off to that great start last year, I also believe when you got an underachieving quarterback, you throw him in a brand new situation, a honeymoon period, he usually plays well, and he started to tail off a little bit more. But yeah, other than the quarterback position, they're certainly one of the best teams in the NFL. But that's you're probably a bigger Sam Bradford guy than I am.
I don't even know that I'm a big Sam Bradford. I hate the guy personally, but I think, I don't know that you have to be – I mean, if you can just manage the game a little bit, make a throw once in a while, I think we've seen kind of the bottom of Sam Bradford. At some point, he's going to play better, isn't he? You got to take that 340 no tie, right? It's just you got to have a lot of money. Yeah, but you're not laying 340. You're getting almost 3-1 back on no tie. A tie happening is minus 340.
Yeah. Not
a tie not happening. So it's kind of an odd number for sure. Seth Hagen, Denver Broncos over under 8.5. I'm not interested in Denver betting on them from a win total perspective just because, look, I mean, they really have no option. I mean, they have options at quarterback, but what do you really have there? I got to be honest. I would almost lean over. I think they're a 9-win team. I do. I think offensively, if they can get something out of Trevor Siemian, they have a lot of weapons there. I mean, a lot of weapons. I like what they did in the draft, bringing in Henderson and Jake Butt. They got Garrett Bowles to protect that left tackle spot. You got better with Ronald Leary and Donald Stevenson. And defensively, they're as good as anyone in the AFC. So I'm a little bit more high on them than maybe some others. What do you think, Joe, about them?
Well, it's almost the same we said about Minnesota, that they're going to have to get some production out of the quarterback position, because they certainly have plenty around the quarterback position, but it does come down to Trevor Siemian. John Elway knows a little bit about quarterbacks, and I guess if he thinks he's got a starting quarterback, we certainly know they got plenty of talent around him. So, if you're a big believer in John Elway's ability to evaluate talent, I guess you would take the over for sure.
Yeah, that's a pretty good division out there. A lot of I think all 4 teams will be competitive. I mean, Chiefs, Chargers will be better, and obviously you have the Raiders as well. But yeah, it's going to be a fun year, Joe, in football. I know we're kind of really getting a lot more into it. I know you're getting more into it. Where can we find your preseason primer?
You can just go to offshoreinsiders.com. I do it now as a podcast, and it's simulcast on YouTube as well. So you can either search whether it's Stitcher or iTunes for Offshore Insiders, or just visit my YouTube page, youtube.com/Offshore Insiders, and we do simulcast it there. So, just visit me, and it'll be great. We'll have all kinds of quarterback rotations, try to see some motivational quotes, and every now and then a coach will say something like, we really got to instill a culture of winning here. I do want to win during the preseason, and stuff like that, I think, has been proven to be gold over the years.
Very good. Offshoreinsiders.com. Obviously, Joe has done this for a long time. Always good to get his opinion before you head in to the NFL season. Joe, always great chatting with you. I really appreciate you coming on every Friday. We'll do it again next week. I have to jump off, though. Got to go get a haircut here at 11 o'clock Eastern. And to all the listeners, we'll be back tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern, here at SBR Sports Picks. Donnie and I will break down the entire baseball card. We'll give an opinion on every game. Joe, any last words before we let you go here?
No, actually, I got a haircut earlier today. Am I not looking pretty? I'm looking really, really pretty.
Yeah, you look the same to me, but I do see, I guess I see a little bit of shaved on the sides there. Everyone have a great night. We appreciate it. Please like the show if you haven't. And again, we will see you tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern. Joe, have a great night. Good luck tonight.
All right, Jeff, and everybody else, we'll see you at offshoreinsiders.com.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.